The Australian game maker Chris Hall got his start as an indie developer way back in 2013 when he created Markiplier the game. Seemingly sometime during a 12-year creation hiatus, something catastrophic must have happened to this poor man, as his recent creative output is focused on the scary. Today we're taking a long look at the most recent Null Resonance. This is a relatively short science fiction horror tale which, relevant to this channel, you drive a mech around in. This video is going to have spoilers, so I would advise you to check the game out for yourself if you haven't already. It'll be available for free on itch.io and will be linked in the description below. The game opens as we finish up a shower, rinsing the shampoo from our hair. The faucet turns off and we turn around to explore our darkly lit hovel. A few pieces of furniture litter the open floor plan with objects scattered about. I wondered if these were chosen remnants of the player character Elliot Mason, or generic shards of a life as issued by whatever megacorp keeps the doors locked around here. My internal questioning lost by the sound of a chiming intercom. A squabbly voice sounds through the speaker. We've been selected for some Project Cold Iron assignment. Something about a tectonic anomaly, whatever that means. A smarter Elliot might be alarmed to know the previous selected failed to restore the relay boosters, but maybe we are the smarter Elliot and we simply just don't have a choice, since this little apartment room kind of reminds me of a prison. The communication ends as an MK1 Pathfinder Mechanized Scout Unit Operation Manual falls into our postage slot. This is pretty cool. Driving a mech sure would make this feel a lot less like a prison. Our door unlocks and we make our way down a corridor of similar doors and rooms, and it almost feels endless, some even casting voices from behind them. It seems everyone is unhappy here, but the conversation gets cut by Big Brother, who's always watching our every move via security camera. Back to the corridor. A very long, slow elevator is at the end. I backed myself into a corner here, expecting jump scares at this point. However, as we reach our destination, the door opens to a cold chill instead. There's fresh air and snow falling as we make our first step out towardward, if we're lucky. Some semblance of freedom. But first I'll go ahead and say this game seemed to have magically fell into my lap at the perfect time while I was prepping for my last video related to games that bridge the gap between giant robots and horror. This video seemed to have really hit a nerve with the greater community in a good way, so I figured I'd take some time to focus on one of my favorite games featured from that mech horror show. If you'd like to keep up with my videos in the future, go ahead and hit the sub. If you just want to talk about the scariest kaiju that gets punched in the face in Pacific Rim, feel free to drop that in the comments. Thanks. The door opens and the big wide world outside appears as a snow-capped wasteland. We follow a small trail until an exterior base appears, some sort of lifted office, and a garage. The snowstorm begins to pick up as we seek the shelter. The music here picks up a bit too, and it really reminded me of Blade Runner 2049. Great audio quality continues even after we get into the building and the music is silenced, and we're left only with the hum of abandoned electronics. I didn't know what to expect searching this building, and was prepared for scares the entire time. There weren't any in here. Now the garage is partially snowed in, so we've got to take the long way around. Then we get our mech. I was pretty excited to see how this game would utilize mech in a horror fashion, and I think they achieved something pretty good here. There's definitely a dichotomy between feeling insecure and vulnerable on foot against the strength of a metal armored suit, but also the handling of this thing powers my vulnerability feeling in a different way. Its movements are slow, delayed even, almost like you're stuck trying to navigate while underwater. You also don't get any weapons in this thing, it's a traversal vehicle only. What you do get is some headlights that only seem to amplify your fear against the darkening ice landscape outside the windshield. Oh yeah, and a radar screen with an ominous red blip. We get to our first station up the trail. It's a tower, gated off, but the gate seems to be locked. Opposite the door button, we've got a little electronics box that powers the gate. We pop it open and come to find the circuit board needs to be tinkered with. Now, this is the first of a couple sets of what I'd describe as, for lack of a better term, carnival games, types of minigames. There's a small trail we have to follow with the mouse lining up a limited number of wires to complete the connection. It sort of reminds me of those, don't touch the buzzer wire loop games. The key is patience and steadiness. I think this sort of patience game really stabs into the tension of a spooky game like this. You're already amped up, expecting monsters and jump scares and jittery and sweating, but now you have to be as calm as possible as to not screw up the puzzle. We do manage to get the gate unlocked and climb up a ladder into the tower. It feels pretty safe up here too. The interior is a small office that provides us with a welcoming cup of coffee. There's a dark hallway that leads to a computer at the end. Here we can print out some logs from the previous person sent to fix this relay network, but the real centerpiece of the room is the 4 red buttoned box in the center. This is the thing that actually resets the systems. Admittedly, it did take me a bit too long to figure out which button exactly made the thing functional. It turns out it's the littlest black one in the corner. I hadn't even realized that was a button I could push. Anyways, this reboot system plays us a simple game of Simon Says. The different buttons ring out a tone and flash, and we follow along until the relay becomes activated. When it turns back on, an earthquake happens. Elliot does not have time to worry about natural disasters at the moment, so we say, oh well, and crawl back down the ladder into our giant robot suit for another stress-filled walk onto the next relay station. We do move past some abandoned mining equipment, the radar pings in and out, and I'm just enjoying the ambiance. The sound design in this game is really done well. I love the whirring sounds of the bot while the background tones crawl up and down my spine. Before we make it to the second relay station, we do encounter a problem with our vehicle. Its nuclear battery needs to be manually vented. This means the whole vehicle stops, and another one of these minigames appears to get us in working order again. This time you gotta click when the pointer sits in the green area. I thought for sure, after finishing this, while the panel was lowering, that some sort of atrocious beastie would jump at the windshield. But that didn't happen. Second relay station plays almost identically to the first, though the puzzle becomes more difficult. We do get our first fright as something seems to be peeking around the corner when we exit the computer room. This legitimately scared me. It's bad enough this relay station is out of coffee, but now we know for certain that these stations are not safe. This previous gameplay that I've described repeats a third time, a short walk between the stations, a locked gate, and so on. We climb the ladder to this one, and we get a glimpse of someone running around the deck and give chase only to find a long, dead, frozen corpse. I guess we're his replacement. The interior of this station is also wrecked, and the note left on the computer has devolved into only the phrase, "I will be reunited," over and over and over again. Final Jaunt ends as we find a structure poking out of the snow, similar to the one we emerged from at the very beginning of the game. Are we coming home? Doesn't seem so. This elevator leads us down into an agoraphobically huge structure, a massive bridge we must cross before entering some sort of disgusting organ environment. It's like that episode of The Magic School Bus where Miss Frizzle takes a field trip to Arnold's intestinal tract. Except there's a bunch of eyeballs watching us as we make our way down. Okay, so personally this portion is where I sort of get lost on media like this. I don't know if I'd go as far to say as I thought it was anticlimactic or a bad ending or anything like that, as much as this sort of like mega flesh monster structure thing just doesn't do anything for me on a personal level. I think for me, the scary stuff is a lot more in the atmosphere and tension of implied danger, while something like this does way too much showing. That, and I guess the back of my brain tells me it's too unrealistic to take seriously, I guess? Regardless, Elliot ends up at some sort of distended organ with path growths involving his fellow relay fixers. They call out, "Elliot, you'll understand. Join us. It's warm here." So there ends Elliot, reunited in his spot with the flesh. Or maybe there begins Elliot as a new life, part of this disgusting monster. Overall, I enjoyed this one pretty well. I think it did a very good job with the sound design, mixing the dissonant environmental ambient with evil undertones. I also really liked the way it handled the mech mechanics, that being instead of making me feel more powerful inside the shell, I felt vulnerable, but in a different way. Albeit the game is more on the shorter side, I think that's pretty acceptable since it's, a completely free project. I didn't encounter any bugs, errors, or issues, and I didn't find the gameplay to be busted in any way, so I'd definitely say that if you're a mech fan and want something spooky to play, maybe if only for October 31st, Null Resonance is a great pick.